All right, folks, today is Thursday, December 22nd, 2022. And I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Uh, in the news lately, if you follow the news, there's this new AI chatbot that's called ChatGPT. And it's basically something like Google, but a lot more than that. It was released back on November 30th, and I think it's grown to over 1 million users like within 5 days, which is like the fastest ever. And you may have seen some things about it, and you may have some questions on, well, what is this thing? So let's start off with some pretty simple one. So, for example, I had a chat where I was basically asking, you know, who won the World Series in 1979, and it told me, and it gave me a little bit of a summary about it as well. So one thing I discovered is that, for fact-based information that's in the past, because the system was trained up to information to 2021, it's pretty decent. But then there are other things you can do. So you can see here that I said, write a resignation letter to Intel Corporation effective, Feb 1, 2023. And it did that. So kind of a form letter, but, very professional and what you would expect. So if you were, using this as an assistant, it's much more powerful than, say, Google. Whereas the first instance is something that Google can probably give you the answer to with, some of the summaries as you're searching for it. The problem with Google is that there's a lot of ads. And for more obscure things, you're going to have to kind of search through the search results yourself and figure out what's useful and what's not. So if I were to ask for like an example of a resignation letter in Google, I may not get what I want right away, right? And I have to search for it. Whereas this gives you a pretty good form letter that you can edit and then send out with minimal time. So what else can you do with this? Well, it can also give you code to like Python, JavaScript, CSS, C++, whatever. So here I basically said, give me some Python code to pull in data and graph it. And it gives me this snippet of code. And if I go in and change certain things to suit my needs, it works perfectly, right? So that's pretty good. It can do things like, generate a tweet in the style of, say, Elon Musk. And if you read this tweet, it's pretty good. It will pass as a tweet from Elon Musk because it was trained on it. Some other examples would be using it to write an academic essay. So in this one, I asked the system to write me an academic essay on the theories of Bertrand Russell. Now, the funny thing is I misspell Bertrand's first name, right? But ChatGPT understands me and spits out this essay, which is pretty good. And if I wanted to get more detail, I can. So I can continue and ask it to do things. But I think what's more useful is if I just kind of go through some examples live. So I can say something like, I'm writing a book. Give me a table of contents for a book on buying your first home. Now, the crazy thing with this is that it will give me this kind of table of contents, which can be my chapter headings. But I can ask the system to expand on this table of contents, right? So it's telling me that this is just a general outline, blah, 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 right? But I can wait for it to finish and ask it to expand on this table of contents. So it's going to give me a much more detailed kind of outline table of contents for the book. And then what's crazy after this is that you can ask it to expand on each of the topics and kind of copy and paste the text into a Word doc or a Google doc and then write your book. Now, the question that comes up is, if you use the system to write a book, who's the author? Is it ChatGPT or is it you? And we don't know, right? I'll let this finish so I can show you, how it expands on a certain topic. So what I find is that ChatGPT understands natural language queries a lot better than, say, like Google, right? On top of that, it seems like it's a combination of Google and, say, Wikipedia. But the difference is that rather than just returning on a Google search pages in the internet, it's actually going through those results and summarizing it for you. Same with Wikipedia. If you had Wikipedia in your back pocket, you can look up different topics and get a really good understanding of it, but it's going to take you some time to look through all the topics and then follow up on any additional information you may have as you're reading a Wikipedia article. Whereas what this does is it kind of summarizes it for you. So for example, if I wanted to expand on the topic of benefits of owning a home, right? I can say expand the topic of benefits of owning a home and considerations for first-time buyers. Okay. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to give me the text for all of that. And then I can use it as is, I can expand on it, I can do whatever. So here is the system expanding on that topic. I can go back and ask it to give me more details on that. And the crazy thing is that it understands things contextually. So I don't have to say like, give me more details on this particular topic. I can just say, can you give me more details on this topic? And it will understand that I'm talking about the topic that we're just discussing, right? So this is actually pretty good. Let's say that you took a trip to Rome and you wanted to post a picture on Instagram and you're trying to generate like a catchy caption for it. Well, you can ask the system to do that. I'll say Instagram captions so that it gives me better Instagram captions for a photo of Rome. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say Rome, Italy, but I just wanted to kind of give it more detail. So the more that you do, the better. So it's actually generating these 10 captions in real time with hashtags, with emojis and everything else. And it's pretty crazy. Let's say that you have a blog that you run that's on traveling, and you need some topics for your travel blog. So let's have the system give you some. Maybe you're running out of ideas. Post on a blog about traveling. Okay. So here you go. It looks pretty good to me. Now the thing is that this is very general, right? So I can say, give me 10 potential topics for a travel blog to Croatia, and it will do that. Let's say that you wanted to write an email asking for time off, but you don't have a lot of time to write it. You may not be sure that you're writing it correctly. So I can say something like, can you make this email sound more professional? Hi, Jason. Can I get time off next week? It's been a while and I need a break to recharge. That's it, okay? And then we can say, thanks, Jennifer. Very short email. But it'll take that and it'll give you a very good, more professional sounding email that kind of gives you what you need, okay? What else can this thing do? Here you go. Very simple, but it's pretty crazy what it can do. I mean, it can almost be like your personal assistant, right? Let me pull up another browser here so I don't lose this. Let me go to like the Atlantic. And the reason I go with the Atlantic is that they have a pretty long form articles of whatever. So let's say that I want to read this one, Why I Left Venezuela, right? This one, I'll put it into reader mode. I'm sure it's a great article, but maybe you don't have time. Okay, so I would just copy this text, go back to ChatGPT, and say, please summarize this article. Paste it in. And it's going to give me a pretty good summary of that article that I can read and kind of get the gist of what it's talking about without spending, 15 minutes to read it. Now, if I wanted to get more detail on this, I can say, can you expand on that summary with more details? So instead of getting a paragraph, I should get a little bit more if I wanted some more context than just a one paragraph summary of a long article. So what else can this thing do? Well, one thing that I found useful is to get summaries of books. So if there are books that you've read but don't remember, and you want to think back on it, you can say something like, can you give me a summary of The Count of Monte Cristo by Dumas? And then it'll tell you. Then you can go, oh, yes, okay, Edmond Dantes, so on and so forth, and refresh yourself, your memory, or even learn about new things if you don't have time to read it. Okay. The other thing that this is very useful for, and I just love it because it's one of those things where I'm a big proponent of lifelong learning, and I'm always just curious. So I can ask it all kinds of questions, and it gives me a lot of good stuff. So today on Reddit, I was in this debate about population growth and is the Earth being overpopulated? Is the birth rate too low? Is that good or bad? And there was a concept that was mentioned that I was not familiar with. And that was something called the Malthusian trope. So I actually asked the system in a separate chat here, but I'll ask it again. Tell me what the Malthusian trope is. Because this is brand new to me. I've never heard this before. I kind of gather what it was roughly about from the context, but I didn't know. So I asked ChatGPT, and it gave me a very good summary on it that, made me more aware, right? So now I feel like I can speak to this topic with a little bit more knowledge and authority. And it's basically this gentleman from the 1800s were arguing that population grows exponentially, but food resources grow linearly, and that's a problem. That's his basic thesis. And if you want more detail, you can ask the system for more details, and it'll give it to you. I can say something like, compare and contrast Islam and Christianity. And it'll tell you. So, one of the things that people are afraid with the system is that it can be abused by students, high school, college, whatever. And how do you combat that? And some people have suggested that you can combat it by using other AI to detect that it was text written by AI. I'm not wholly sure. It's a tool. I view this as a tool. It's like a hammer, right? You can use a hammer to build a house, or you can use it to whack someone in the head. And it's up to the user, right? So I don't think it's a bad thing. And in all honesty, I think that this is something that I would love to have access to. Right now, it's owned by OpenAI, and it's open for kind of like a public research beta. My guess is that what they're going to do with this is that they're going to have this as a paid product at some point. I mean, I don't know for sure, but if you look at OpenAI and who's invested in them, it's companies like Microsoft, what have you. And if they were to make this a paid service, I, for one, would totally subscribe to it. I mean, I think I would, because it's one of those things where, at least for me and how I would use it, I would get so much utility about it. So let me go and see if I can find it. So it's an AI research and deployment company. What they're deploying, I have no idea. And honestly, I don't know. But I know what I would use it for. So when you look at it, you can see that, there are a bunch of individual investors, but then you have things like Microsoft, some charitable foundation and what have you. But I'm really super excited about this. Can you misuse this? Absolutely. You can definitely misuse it. But from what I see so far, I think that a system like this is infinitely more useful than something like Google or Wikipedia. It's like a mishmash of the two that you can speak to it in normal language. It knows the context you're talking about and gives you the information you need in the right amount, makes it easy to read. If you want to get more detail yourself, you always have that ability, right? You can research yourself and do whatever after you get the synopsis from ChatGPT. But what I'm seeing here is pretty revolutionary. If this company, OpenAI, ever goes public, I think I would be all in. I think it's one of those companies that's going to change the way we use information, access information. It's almost like, Google 2.0. I know Google's going to hate me for saying it, but it is what it is. Anyways, I could go on and on about this system, but this is enough just to give you a sense of what it can do, right? It can summarize information. It can give you code to a bunch of popular languages. It gets pretty technical as well if you know how to use it, but it's pretty impressive. I hope you enjoy this short preview of ChatGPT and can get a sense of what all the hoopla is about. Anyways, check you later. Bye.